Good afternoon, everybody from Morocco. As I said earlier, of course, it's the morning for some of you. It's the evening, around the evening for some of us. I am Abdelaziz Zuhri from Morocco, from University Hassan I in Stad. And I am a doctor in education science and applied linguistics. And today we are live on online, of course, with our conference, international video conference on social education and social justice, aspirations and realities. Let me just give you a very, very brief account of how this webinar has unfolded. This webinar has unfolded through a discussion with Professor Khalid Arar. We had kind of an informal, very informal chat, me and him, around our interests, our research interests, and what interests us in terms of education and so on and so forth. And I kind of found out that Dr. Khalid has widely researched the issue of education, leadership, and social justice. We had, at that time, I had just finished an international conference or video conference on education and leadership that was very, very successful thanks to the people who participated, the speakers, and thanks to the attendees. We had a large number of attendees, and everybody kind of, the echoes that we had, everybody liked the conference, and they said that they learned much from it, and that was really a pleasure for me. So having a chat, that informal chat with Professor Khalid, I kind of suggested to have a video conference, an international webinar on education and social justice, because I knew that Khalid is so much interested in this issue. And Professor Khalid, of course, welcomed the suggestion, and we started with Rania, of course. We started preparing the video conference, and here we are today. We've been working so hard with Rania and trying to get everything ready. So we would like to thank Professor Khalid for his engagement. We would like to thank the participants. We have 5 eminent researchers. I've been talking to Professor Ira Bogoch from USA, and I said that it is really an honor for us to have people of this caliber with us. They are the experts. He asked me a question, actually, just to give you a brief account of what we said. He asked me, he said, are you speaking in this conference? I said, this is the first online webinar that I'm organizing and where I'm not going to speak. He said, why? I said, because you are the experts. And when the experts are here, we have to listen to them. So we have 5 eminent researchers, distinguished people who have widely researched the issue of education and social justice. It is a great honor and a pleasure for us to have them all. And of course, we will start first with Professor Khalid as a keynote speaker. We have Rania with us, Dr. Rania from Qatar, who has co-organized and co-ordinated the webinar with me, and I will give her the floor to introduce the keynote speech. Rania?
Yes, I'm with you.
So the floor is yours, go ahead.
Thank you, everyone, and welcome on board. We are so excited, so thrilled to have those experts, distinguished scholars with us today, and all the participants, the attendees. Everyone is a kind of a treasure to have you here with us, and we're so fortunate and so excited to enrich the discussion and the sharing ideas and expertise. Before we start with our keynote speaker, Prof. Khalid Arar, we just want to share some tips before we start. Please, during the discussions, to some of you, it might be a new topic. So reflect on your own practices, beliefs, and what other presenters are sharing with us today. We also encourage you to share examples from your context because it differs from country to country, city to city, and we want to have those thoughts within our discussions and within our webinar today. Also think how to raise awareness about social justice, identify what opportunities and challenges that you might have when adopting the suggested ideas or adopting them. Also think about the research methods that you want to learn more about, because they are not only sharing with us their experiences, but also the research findings and many ideas about research methods. And please share any general question that you have in mind. We will have our keynote speaker, Prof. Khalid, will start with us today, and then we will have our panel discussion with our distinguished speakers as Dr. Abdulaziz had started. So please bear with us, have your questions. We're about to have around 2 hours and a half. Hopefully we will utilize this time as much as we can with them all. Khalid Arar, Professor Khalid Arar is well known for education leadership and for social justice. If we talk about, if we're going to count, Doctor, how many publications that you have, I think we will have another webinar for that. He will share with us today about school leadership for refugees, education, how to welcome them as newcomers in different contexts from his own experiences. He worked as a teacher, as a principal, also from his higher education, his experience in higher education. If you Google Dr. Khalid Arar, you will find many books, around 20 books, and correct me if I'm wrong, Doctor. And he has been well known for his impact in education leadership. I'm not going to take longer time from this. I know that we are all keen to hear our speakers today. So the floor is yours, Dr. Khalid, and I think you can share the screen for your presentation, or you want me to present it for you?
Yes, please allow me to share it.
So during Dr. Khalid's speech, please, just within the chat, have your questions, and at the end we will have a question Q&A session. So we will select, and I will merge some of the questions that will be similar in the topic as much as we can, just to utilize the time and to make sure that we're addressing most of the points that you want to discuss. Yes, microphone with you, Doctor.
Okay. Hello, everybody, and I'd like to thank you, Dr. Abdulaziz and Dr. Rania, for organizing this event, and especially in this pandemic and political hatred and execution and xenophobic time, which engages the humanity. And so thank you very much for hosting us all. I'd like also to thank my friends and colleagues for their willingness to share their scholarship coming from different geographic areas and time zones. We have, along with us, Ira Buguch, Rosemary Papa, Anna Lopez, and Yashar Kondakchi, who are, I consider them as a friend of mine, and also it's a bit challenging also to have a keynote while you have these key figures who put their stepping stones in the scholarship of educational leadership for social justice. We have also, along with us, Stephen Jacobson, the editor of Leadership and Policy in Schools. And we have also Professor Prosper Neat from Texas, among others. So thank you very much, everybody, for joining us. And also thank you all our audience from the globe, which we appreciate their participation and their engagement on this event. So I choose to speak about social justice for refugees, and to share with you some of my findings, our findings, because this is a research that it has been a stance that we deliver towards the research. And I can say that I have done that with others. I've chosen to put right in the front in my first slide. No one puts their child in a boat unless water is safer than land. So when we speak about refugees, immigration is not a choice. It's a constrained choice. And while speaking, and before speaking about refugees, I want to speak a bit, about discuss the issue of diversity, equity, and social justice. While here are the main topics that I'm gonna tackle around the what and why social justice in education, the scholarship of educational leadership for social justice, because some of you is there maybe, I mean, they will need this, brief overview, and also that we call this a welcoming stance for war-torn people. I can say that I adopted this term from my friend and colleague Ira, and afterward we will speak out of this diversity. We will speak about our stance towards immigrants and refugees, and we will leave time for some questions. So before I discuss the following very stark terms, the question of education brings us to several questions before we discuss social justice in education. So what is the main project of education? When we examine the regime of education in a new liberal age, we question different production regime or machines, and we still doing education as if we were in the industrial revolution. What about the change in human nature? How we meet this change? What are the main values we want to educate our children in dealing with our current reality? And as you can see right away, I choose to start with Martin Luther King's very stark speech. Injustice anywhere is the street of justice everywhere. So it's not selective. It's a humanitarian stance that we need to take towards diversity. And of course, the core definition of social justice starts from the recognition of diversity and the belief in the richness of humanity, no matter of race, ethnicity, nation, gender, physical or mental disability. So diversity is core, biologically, socially, culturally, and so on. And is given while recognizing the diversity, we choose to legitimize it in a humanitarian and non-patronized or orientalist way in both perception, a value we need to educate for, and the action that to be acted. The efforts for social justice starts from eliminating cultural and social inequalities such as racism, sexism, heterogeneity, and poverty, and disability. So where all this issue started? As you can see, it started in the Anglophonic context from the following two main philosophies, not only, but these are the two main philosophy. The one is the liberal democratic philosophy, and the other is the critical humanistic philosophy. And I based this analysis in one of my paper on Baggage and Shield and Brooks, and also in Fraser and Theo Harris. So, and the meta-social justice assertions are equal life opportunities and autonomy of participation. And where do we meet these goals? In economic redistribution, in political representation, and in educational entities. We meet this, and we need to take a stance towards gaps in achievements, in participation, and segregation. And of course, if we take the humanistic critical stance of social justice, so we do have respect of different identities, recognize cultural differences, and of course, intolerance of harassment. So by respecting other people's cultures. So in one of my previous analysis of social justice ruled and the models applied, Oblatka and I found that while these models started in Anglophonic context, they are far to meet the characteristics of developing context and other cultural context. And by then, it was very important to stress these cultural differences and the application of social justice while giving attention and sensitivities towards these differences. Before I move to speak about social justice and culture, I want to give a brief distribution of the scholarship of social justice, just in a very limited and scant way, using a work that Sedat Gomez and Oblatka and I are just writing currently. So as you can see, social justice leadership in education started in new in Anglophonic countries and then spread to the rest of the world, to Asia, Latin America, and the Middle East, and also lastly to Africa, as you can see here in this map. And when we look into the scholarship of social justice, who were the, let's say, the prominent scholars that put this stage from first instance and develop our understanding of social justice. Some of them are here with us. As you can see, for example, Ira Bogood's name is over here, along, you know, others. And also there were different developments when we speak about the scholarship of social justice in the US and in North America and in Australia, and then in Middle Eastern countries, as you can see. I can say also here that one of the development in these scholarships towards 2000s, the second millennium and above, there was a development also in the scholarship of leadership for social justice due to different, you know, streams that has been started. I can point out, for example, for a stream that started with a collaboration with UCA and Balmas, and we have one of the leaders of this stream, Bruce Barnett, is here along with us. So from here, we will see the main foci of social justice leadership. I mean, the key terms that have been used while researching social justice. So it's dealing both with equity, diversity, leadership and principleship, development, multiculturalism, race, gender, and of course, school and culture. We see here inclusion. We see here voices of inclusion and community. When I speak about community and leadership, also we have among the scholars here, Anna Lopez, one of the people that has explored this subject. So following this overview and definition, we pose the following main questions: how each of us can make a difference toward a social just society, each in his position, his class, his neighborhood, his public discourse, stance, action, proaction, and bearing in mind, as the German philosopher Wittgenstein stated, that discourse creates reality. So when we have the right discourse, we promote this discourse so we can make an inclusive discourse. So how we can change the unjust reality toward people of colors, toward people of who are war torn, towards others in terms of gender, sexuality, racism, and so on. So the manifestation of racism in individual, dadic, subcultural, institutional levels are there, and also we are eager to tackle this reality of dehumanization and educate for social justice. What we can do as activists, as educators, are genetics. So we have the intra-institutional activism of supporting schooling and diverse schooling by creating vehicles of mobilization. And in another hand, we have to implement social activism and extra institutional collective community in order to mobilize our communities towards social justice. As Michael Fullan put it that way, give me a school and I can mobilize or change the whole village. So as educationalists, we are both activist professionals in terms of intra-institutional and extra-institutional agencies. And also we have within these institutions different, both stance and activities that we can lead, innovating different activities of participation in processes and practices, engaging with social acceptance and selective implementation. And of course, also there are large skills changes that we can lead as superintendents, as school leaders, in terms of infrastructural modification, as you can see. And from here, as a social justice scholar and activist, and as being a Palestinian myself, I witnessed one of the global issues of war-torn people. I witnessed this phenomena along with other colleagues. As being a Palestinian scholar, watching the waves of refugees as happened to my people in 1948 made me question both our human and educational project stance, and of course our actions that I was lucky to take with other friends. So I was not alone with this endeavor. And of course, when we look to the reasons for migration and sort of refugees and mostly displaced people range from civil war, political and economic crisis. And we can count out of the whole immigration movement, 271 million people, we have around 71 displaced and migrants. When we look to the world map, out of 196 countries that has been signed the UN resolution towards refugees protection, when we see, so we look about, the countries that people have been displaced from. As you can see, Syria holds the first country's place. Afterward, Afghanistan, South Sudan, Myanmar, and Somalia. And there are the countries that, host these refugees. So only few countries open their gates and welcome refugees, as we investigated on our different research. When I say we, so we are more than one scholar. So when we look about this number, perhaps took these slides from Ira Bugut's last presentation in UCA. When we look to the world map and see who are the countries that open their gates in order to welcome these wartime people, and of course, different, humanitarian questions are posed over here. What are we think of this? How are we to respond to this issue? What about their education and life chances? How we meet the needs of new migrants groups and refugees and asylum seekers searching for a new life? And of course, how do different countries respond or responded to the refugees influx? How do national and global educational policies reacted in terms of policy, leadership, and praxis? And what is the role of school leaders in this respect, and how should it be? What their role is and how it should be, and also the challenges that faced in terms of trying to be inclusive and integrating these minors. And of course, this brings us back to the main, let's say, stepping stones or bullets of our research. First is the policy response, then the leadership agency, the school praxis, and stakeholders' commitment, including community. So we are speaking here about a new theory or lens of witnessing and exploring refugees' education and the agency that it composes with. So what is the context of these refugees when they arrive in another shore? And of course, we ask questions about our response. How are we to respond to this? Have we as nations and educators adopted what Jalaluddin Rumi's inscribed on his tomb in Turkey, come, come, whenever you are, whatever you are, worshipper, lover, or of living, it doesn't matter. Ours not a caravan of despair. Come if you have broken your own 1,000 times. We left them face their tortuous passage, rejection, persecution, marginalization, exclusion, exile, as Edward Said put it. So a group of colleagues, among them Ira is here with a group of colleagues from the States and from Canada and from Germany and from Sweden and from Turkey and from Spain. So we, a different group of colleagues, started to explore issues of policy and leadership for refugees in different countries where they open their gates towards refugees. What were the practices of integration and welcoming in countries like Canada, Germany, Ankara, Jordan, Malta, etc. And of course, we will need to do further work in order to explore the different models that has been developed or need to be developed further. And of course, in order to put the first stage for this scholarship of educational leadership towards refugees, Jeff Brooks, Ira, and I started with a first exploratory, let's say, study of refugees around the globe. And we started to research policy text and, of course, leadership agencies towards this phenomena. And luckily, we could collect different colleagues and move with them, not just in terms of publication, in terms of bringing the voices of refugees to the fore in different conferences and public speeches that we could attend to. And of course, this public discourse, we tried to search for forced refugees and their dangerous routes before arriving to these countries, and how these travelers, both in the Middle East, in Europe, South America, North America, and even to Australia, and what were the main public discourse towards them. If we recall, for example, the public discourse in Hungary or Denmark on the US towards this. And as educators, and in order to explore responses to these humanitarian phenomena and minors, we wanted to explore policymakers' education reactions towards refugees, education in different, geographic regions. So I'm happy to share with you some of this scholarship, and within this, we try to deeply investigate state perception approaches, educational leadership approaches, policy, and of course, praxis. And from here, and also policy enactment. And I tried within this vast knowledge of my colleagues and mine to come up and analyze it in the following sub-themes: the space and the state and transition between different destinies, the move between two borders and what refugees faces, the challenges that they face, and also the lessons that we learn from the scholarship of educational leadership for refugees, the cultural relevant leadership scholarship that we have analyzed, and of course how we can build a cohesive community in order to build a welcoming reality for refugees. So this brings us to discuss leadership, community, and culture. And within this frame, I can point out to different models that have been developed in the last years towards diversified communities, toward meetings between discourses, meeting between cultures, and the agency and the critical agency and reflective agency of educational leaders. So out of the various models, I have deeply understood these models and tried to build up an extended model that that can promote a welcoming reality to refugees. And it's a place to thank the people that read the first draft of this work and directed also some of it. So this is all a one author book, but it is a collective energies and intellectual discourses that I shared mainly with Ira Boguch, with Dennis Uruchu, with Duncan Waite, and with other colleagues as well. And I want here in the end to adapt the questions and to add to it two other bullets that also my colleague Ira put right away. We still do not understand the placement of refugees in different education entities, appointment of principals, development of principals, and of course, coordinating the different stakeholders' efforts in order to integrate refugees, how sustainable these models are, what are the societal discourse on integration, discourse of refugees, education. And of course, I can end up of, yeah, I'm gonna finish. I need 1 minute only. I will end up of what next, given the recent anti-immigrant rhetoric following Trump's presidential campaign and election, and we witnessed, some of it in the just last month. It was also exaggerated. All the theories that we use to understand reception and enlighten the understanding of immigrants' experiences, xenophobic reactions instead of welcoming reactions, and also these, bring to the fore different questions about the labor market institution, the government, and the third sector's stance toward refugees. And I want to end with the following questions. Do we have place for refugees and immigrants among us? Are we up to the task of welcoming refugees, integrating them, and changing the entire narrative toward a social justice narrative and a diversified narrative? So thank you for listening. I hope I made the message clear. And I want to thank all the people that supported this endeavor. Some of them had opened their offices, their countries, their houses, while we moved from Turkey, Jordan, Germany, Malta, and other countries. So we have had different colleagues, friends who supported us, welcomed us, and supported this work. So this is not a sole author work. So we are now a team. I can point out that among the scholarship, I can point out to 42 people that has been researching this subject with us and moving with us. When I say with us, so one of the Calibas that leads this team is here with us, Ira Boguch. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Khalid, for this informative, inspiring presentation. I really admire how you collected and summarized all those information for us. I'm sure that teachers, school leaders, scholars, and practitioners have gained lots of information, and you paved the way for the other speakers, especially when you mentioned their books within your presentation. Currently, we have 3 questions. I will give you the 3 of them, and let you see how you're going to either merge them or answer one by one. Till we have another round of questions, we still have time, and remind me with time, Abdulaziz, please. The first one is asking, how do we ensure equity in education in some African countries, especially that some of them, they can't afford blended learning, and their parents, there's no support from parents or from the community. The second one is talking about India and the society there. It's not only about all the issues that you mentioned regarding race or gender or other issues, but they also have the cost and the society division that they're facing. The third one is how to overcome racism in research. And you have the mic.
Racism in research.
Yes.
Can you elaborate on this? I mean, what kind of racism in research?
Actually, the question mentioned racism and mentioned about females in research. So I think they mean racism and sexism. I'm not so sure about that, but let's, and whoever had asked the question, please elaborate on that within the chat. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the question. How we ensure equity, recognition of diversity, recognition of differences in the society, and being willing to share public good with others by, not in a paternalistic way, by supporting them, and also by giving them enough place for representation, is one of the answers that I could give. Also, bringing the voice of inequalities, marginalizations, and deprivation is very important. And of course, within this reality, educators can have, not only educators, but educators can have, I think, a crucial and important stance in terms of research racism. I mean, I'm not sure about the question. Of course, any deprivation we can, or sometimes it's easy for us to call it racism. We can call each challenges as racism, but I can guess that there are challenges that females face, maybe more than males face. And I have researched this in developing societies, where the challenges are much more stark compared to that of males. But how we overcome these challenges, I can say by mentoring, by let's say mentoring, grouping, and by also strengthening our capabilities in order to reach farther. And I mean, myself, I can come and say, okay, I have been facing this and that, but one of the answers that I got is that I got the support from my colleagues, which mentored my activities and endeavors and supported me in different places. So one of the mobilizing effects is mentoring, as so female mentor female, and equity and diversity scholars, male or female, can also encourage others. So this is a stance that we need to take in order to rebuild the public discourse toward equitable one. Thank you.
And before we start the second round, and I think also that we need to be aware of our own bias about dealing with people and our own beliefs and dispositions. Another 3 questions, Doctor, and that would be the end of this discussion. What about the principles of the universal design of learning? The second one, how can we promote inclusive education for refugees? And how do the educators address the issues of disadvantaged groups?
Okay, when we speak about schools, schoolings, teaching, and learning, okay, they are similar, yet there is the text, the context, and the agency should be different. I mean, a school principal that understands fully his context critically and deeply, along with the educators in the school, can, of course, give more space and promote social justice and equity. So, and also we have the educational text that we need to adopt and making it diversified and acceptable, and also gives voices to different narratives in the school, and also within this process, activated process, empowering process, biological process, also are important in order to build circles of empowerment and social justice. So when we design within the universal frame of schooling, education, and educator, as I've said, there is the different text that we need to re-examine according to the context and the diversified learning, and of course to make it available.
Thank you very much, Dr. Khalid, and I will encourage everyone to read your book. The most recent one, School Leadership for Refugees Education. It's not only an academic or gaining all or most of the publications that you had about this, or your experiences, the field work that you have done, but it also we will all enjoy reading the literature and the the pieces of art that you had collected from different poets and different writers and novels. Thank you very much, Dr. Khalid. You paved the way for us to continue our panel, and I will leave the floor with you, microphone with you, Abdulaziz. Thank you, Dr. Khalid.